Okay. Making sure everything's working. Okay. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I kind of fucked up. I misread what time the PlayStation State of Play was, so I didn't realize it was 2 o'clock on the West Coast. On the East Coast, it's 5 o'clock. So I've got some time, so let's continue on that tier maker list. Let's see. Where were we? Devils Don't Cry. A simple boys' love comic about two demons who find a human baby and try to take care of it. It's not for everyone, and honestly, it's kind of undercooked, so it's even going towards the bottom of that. I don't want my time back from it, but it was... yeah. Let's see. From there... Devil Number 4, I believe, is this called. Let's see. Because I have them all, the pictures all labeled with everything, so... pretty sure that's Devil's Number 4 is the official title. Yep, Devil Number 4. A slow burn kind of romance between a woman trying to make a deal with the devil and kind of everything that falls out of it. I'll be honest, it's going relatively low on the low end of decent. It's not bad by any stretch. It is complete, however. I should note that this is a complete comic, that it is... if you want to binge it, you can. It'll cost you money. Or if you just want to watch it over daily, that's another option. How to put it? There's some cultural things with it that really, I think, appeal more to a Korean audience, which is where it originates, I'm pretty sure, versus me being an American, so... there's some cultural disconnect where it doesn't... some of these story bits don't hit quite as hard, so... just in general, it's decent, nothing amazing to my eyes, but I still enjoyed my time with it, so to each their own. Oh, Sassy Lesbian Witches. This one is a lot of fun. Diamond Dive is the official title. And pulling up the title for that. When Carta Kloss entered Montgomery University marked as a witch of special talent, she didn't expect to end up with a crush that would challenge the very system of the world she just joined. Not to worry, though, she isn't the type to give up easily. Join Carta and her new friends in their fight against homework, old traditions, and a weirdly persistent demon from hell, all in the name of love. It's a very fun... if you can get a look at the actual icons, the art style is very much... the art is very well done and appropriate for each situation. They make the characters stand out very much. I absolutely think it's worth it. Not the highest worth it, but it is still really good. The gays keep winning. Sorry, folks. It just keeps happening. Next up is a comic called Dishonest Honesty. This one is now going from girls' love to boys' love. This is almost pretty much a solid this is a solid comedy, romance comedy. When you're gay for your friend. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The guy is gay for his best friend, and everything kind of spirals out from there, and the way they feel about each other, the way things go. The art is pretty draw your first anime, how you draw your first anime, your first manga. But honestly, they do enough with the comedy and the lighthearted nature of it. I still think it holds up to worth it. It's definitely decent. I'm gonna put it around Zombie Boyfriend's level of the art kind of is simple and there's a lot of the writings holds it together more than the art. I'll put it that way. Do You Even Witch is our next one. Again, you caught on that I might be kind of an alternate sexuality? It is yet another boys' love, where a story about the life of a teenage witch boy filled with mysteries, drama, and romance. It is, how to put it, there's a lot going on at any particular time about each of the main leads' families and what it means to be a witch and deal with magic, and it's a lot of fun, if I'm honest. I think it's personally very much worth it. Again, the gays keep winning, and, well, what can I say? It's not going to stop anytime soon. Oh boy. And from feeling happy to feeling overwhelmed. This is a comic that can make you want to cry from happiness and from the envy that you don't have this. I don't. Most people won't. 90% of people will never have what this next comic wants. Dom and More. Is it the ampersand? Is that way? Because that's the name of this little symbol. Dom and More. Yep, there it is. Morgan and Dominique are a couple living in New York. They've both been through a lot, but now they're enjoying their daily life together, learning new things about each other, how to be intimate, how to manage their very different schedules and needs. This is a LGBT, extremely body positive, extremely open, wonderful relationship that sits as a testament to what every person truly wants but can't ever necessarily achieve. This is one that is up at the top for me, for just positivity and loving each other. For those curious, it is about Dominique and Morgan. You know what? I don't even want to spoil what their relationships is like, why they are the way they are. Because you know what? Everything about them is just a wonderful, beautiful exploration of being of surviving a life that will fuck you up and leave you hurt, but having the person there who will be there with you through that pain. That is one of those, I cannot recommend this enough. I consider it a must-read, absolutely. From there we have... Oh god, what's the official title? Yeah, Doom Breaker, right. For my shonen heads, this is one of your bigs. If the art style alone here didn't tell you how shonen action, punchy guys, beating up monsters, this is everything. Zephyr is the last human fighting an evil in a world abandoned by the gods. When he is killed in battle by Tartarus, the god of destruction, all hope for humanity seems lost, but Zephyr's fate is not sealed. The gods who find his battles entertaining have gifted him a second chance at life, as he is sent 10 years into the past, back to when he was a slave instead of the most powerful human alive. Can Zephyr get his revenge against Tartarus and save the woman he loves, or is he doomed to repeat the past? So, it's a sort of isekai where he's just sent back in time, with all the knowledge he has of how everything went wrong. And it's him undoing it and all the actions and intricacies and political and actually excellent world building. So it's definitely a worth it read. It is definitely high up on the worth it reads. I won't say it's a must read because you have to be really into action for the actions comics for that to really apply. But I definitely can see that I can concede that I have never regretted the time I spent reading it. So from there, we also have... Okay, this is a comic that is... Okay, I believe it's officially completed. It is called Dungeon Death Dispatch. The comic artist, Ouyabrous, has an extraordinarily unique art style. And... Yeah, no, okay, it is technically an indefinite hiatus, so this will unfortunately go relatively low in the rankings. That being said, even if it's a scream heard by no one, much less the artist who it belongs to, I just want to say, I'm one of the people rooting that this gets continued one day. Because this is a unique, interesting art style with a unique, interesting gimmick. If you die adventuring, don't worry. Hun, Rascal, and 86 will climb mountains and fight monsters to retrieve your corpse. A series about a question no one asked. What happens to all your dead party members? Series is on indefinite hiatus, so unfortunately it's going to go relatively low in the rankings. That being said, every episode and every bit of this story is so interesting and such a unique exploration of the fantasy tropes of, okay, you screw up, your entire party gets wiped out. What about it? What about your corpse? What about the people you left behind? How is that handled? What are the complications and, real world differences about this? I fucking love this. If somebody ever somehow sends a clip of this to you, all I can say is thank you for creating this, and I will be there the day you start releasing it again. That's all I want to say. Thank you, and I hope we get to see more. I get that life doesn't let us do that all the time, but I wanted to just say this was an interesting and wonderful series I absolutely enjoy. Unfortunately, like I said, because it's on indefinite hiatus, it gets locked down, and I'm going to put it right next to your current work, but because Uncanny University, but still, both of these series, this art style, everything about it was a riot, and I just want to say thank you. Next up, what's it called officially? Eldritch Darling. Basically, a Cthulhian deity starts living as a person, as a human being, and falls in love with a particular girl. We had, when I did the list on anime, Naruto-chan, one of the shows that got me in trouble and made me have to re-upload that, did as well. Had a similar concept, and this holds it pretty close, though this one is a little more saucy, and the artist loves to draw their characters. I absolutely say it's worth it, and you know what? On the same way, I'm going to leave it next to Adjust, because both of them love to have their characters be horny for each other. It's fun, it's cute, it's bouncy, it's a lot of fun. There's no, though the whole Eldritch aspect of it is interesting, I do have to love, there is a biblically accurate pigeon in this show, in this comic, and I will love that to death. Alright, moving on to Emperor Hunt. This is going on the top of decent. This is one of those, it's another heavy action comic. it's got darker themes than most of the other ones up to this point. Um, yeah, Emperor Hunt. It is excellent. Earth is destroyed, and the sole survivor is the immortal being Seul Yun. After losing the only person she ever cared about, she is sent out to seek revenge on the one behind it all, the Emperor Horson. However, Seul finds herself lost in a strange world called Hetra. There she must learn to harness the new abilities and fight against a new type of evil. Will Seul be able to hunt down the Emperor and carry out her revenge? There is such... The limitation of this comic, for me, will remain that there is such a thing as being too obtuse about things. And there's well-intentioned things behind this, and we are starting to finally unravel some of the potential story arcs. But the early parts of the comic, as far as I've seen, and as far as I've read up to now, I don't know. There just feels like there's such a thing as being too obtuse and too awkward with your introducing plot elements. So, I still think it's decent, and it's worth a read. It's got some decent art, it's got some really detailed art, and some excellent pacing. But overall, what people want and their motivations are... And the fact that you can wear... Well, no one trusts him. That's great, but you haven't shown us a reason why people did trust him in the first place. That kind of thing. I don't know. It's a personal taste sort of thing. Irma. This is a feel-good, must-read. I'm not even going to bother hiding the ranking. Irma is a must-read. Irma is the daughter of... Irma is like any other normal child. She goes to school, plays with friends, and even spends time with her family. It just so happens that she is the daughter of a ghostly spirit and tends to use her haunting abilities for everyday antics, whether for better or worse. I would have given this only a middling rating a few years ago, if I had done this. But they just recently closed up the first of an amazing plot arc this past year. Yeah, that where Irma, who is basically the daughter of the Grudge, Sadako, the Grudge's Sadako, and a normal human, who is a horror writer, she basically, and she's just a regular kid in general. She has some cool, spooky abilities, but she's still adorable. And they're just little things like, a little Godzilla on her head. These are just sketches that they did because they could. She's a kid. Just little arts like that. And the whole world around her that where horror... her with Anya reading her mind. Raymond. Yeah, the sassy kid. It is one of those things of... Overall, it is a hilarious, fun little read, and it... Like I said, if it was a few years ago, I would have just... Whoop, wrong thing. If it was a few years ago before they did the reunion plot arc, it would have only landed in decent because it was a relatively light-hearted, fluttery thing. What they did with the reunion plot arc of her meeting her Japanese horror style family and everything that went into that elevated that series so much to me. It built a whole world we only want to know more about. And frankly, that is an accomplishment for an art style that is very simple, very cartoony, but there is so much built into that world, and it gave them the flexibility to do amazing, horrific things. Top of the top, it is a must-read for anyone, in my opinion. It reminds me of when I was suggested Gintama, where 90% of this is just simple comedy bits that are, lighthearted, fun, and just kind of made to give you a chuckle. But every now and then, the artist and writer decide to go off and just do this amazing story arc and make you sit there and go, huh, there's a lot more to these characters than I realized. Yes, there is. So yeah, Outcast Productions does amazing work, and I just had to, the entire point of this ranking is me gushing until 5 o'clock when the state of play starts. So, continuing on. And to be fair, we're only on the E's of the alphabet. Eros, Loves Conquers All. Oh boy. Eros conquers all. Once feared among gods, Eros, the god of love, has resigned himself to living quietly amongst the mortals, feeding off their desire, but with the loss of his old weapon, the arrival of a new mysterious god, and a fateful prophecy, Eros may have no choice but to become the great blood-winged god once more. An interesting action sort of drama was centered around a active god of love and him trying to adjust to the world and those around him. It's a very good read. Not for everybody. I'll put it near Asa because both of them have very unique press. While the main character has a very unique status, it's not for everyone, and I can see where there are some downsides to the writing style and that kind of thing. So overall, really good. I cannot suggest it enough, but I cannot overstate that. It is a good ride, but I can see where the main character always being a step ahead ahead of everyone gets kind of stale sometimes. That's all. Anyway, oh boy. And now we're on to Evelyn and the Occult. Oh, there's no. Evelyn and the Occult. Enamored with the occult and supernatural, young Evelyn is determined to make contact with whatever might be hiding beyond this world. Little does she know the dark path will lead her far beyond her wildest dreams. Join Evelyn and her friends, Leo, Anna, and Sam, on their fun and spooky adventures to see how far curiosity will take them. This description is deceptive. I'm going to be point blank. This description is utterly deceptive. It paints it as a lighthearted, fun, romantic comedy almost, where they're just being chased by ghosts but not realizing it. That is not this comic. This comic is a hard-hitting action with drama elements. It is supernaturally based, but there are so many action and horror sequences. And the art style is fantastic, and overall, this is a fun, wonderful read, but I just want to be aware, this is not the lighthearted kind of, haha, oh, there was a ghost there the entire time. No, there's going to be emotional heavy hits, so you've been warned. It is deceptive, but it is there. Oh boy, where do I place this? Everywhere and nowhere. Another Merryweather special. Anne and William are immortal time travelers who can never die. Follow their adventure through history as they try to unravel the mystery of why they became like this and why the world ends on Christmas Day 2050. Yeah. Now, this one gets gimped by the fact that it hit a Season 3 finale almost a year ago at this point, and we've not heard too much since. It's gone most of a year with no updates. I don't know if there's a particular reason. The artist, the Merryweather themselves, don't know. I mean, there's always reasons, and it's not my place to know. That being said, what we do have with Everywhere and Nowhere is a interesting psychological thriller of exploring the necessities and the effects of how one deals with immortality and seemingly unlimited power until and seemingly at least seemingly omnipotent but actually quite limited power. Overall, it's an interesting exploration of that. It's a decent ride. It's really well done, but it is one of those. It can be confusing and a bit hard to hold together. The plot seems kind of up its own ass almost at times, just because it's basically because it involves time travel and the butterfly effects that it should entail don't really seem to happen as much, or at least only happen in convenient instances. It's a little. But then again, that might just be my personal bias against time travel in the old traditional sense of jumping back in time. Though, personal theory and just personal theory, they're not the time loop they're stuck in is not actually part of our world's time, but a pocket dimension. Personally, that's my rationale working out on it. But again, I'm not the writer and I don't know. I'm just someone who read it and I enjoyed what I read. It's decent. It's just, and it's the least. I will say this: it is the least horny of Merriweather's works. If you're looking for something that's not very horny and not big on fan service, this is it. There's some, but nothing too oblique or too saucy. I'll put it that way. There's plenty of fan service where you go, oh, that's cute. More so than, oh my. Alright. Oh. Oh boy. Facing the Sun, I believe is the official title. Yes. Alright. Facing the Sun is one of the most unique and hard hitting. Like this hits you like a goddamn sledgehammer sometimes with the emotional weight of what's going on. Fear, grief, trauma, guilt, love, all seen through the eyes of a dysfunctional android prototype well past her estimated lifespan. Yeah, this is a romance between at least a female-coded android and the woman she is expected to take care of, that she was commissioned to take care of. In a post-apocalyptic, what they call solar punk, where the sun has basically started to expand and effectively Earth is dying out bit by bit. And this woman is trying to find ways to resuscitate and create as much food as possible. And she's a scientist researching this, but she's physically injured and in many ways not crippled, but it's a struggle for her to live on her own. Thus, she had an android that was working with her. The android, though, has started to gain sentience and affection for her, and there's a lot. That's a very bare bones, very simple simplification of this story. There is a lot there, and there is some amazing world building. I consider it a must read. Like, that is a must read to me. Not the highest, but it definitely sits up there. The only thing I will adjust actually in my must reads, I'm going to move Ava and 23-4 down to move those up. Alright, give me one sec, folks. Sorry about that. I just had to, well, family stuff to deal with. Nothing important to the stream. But I just got confirmation everyone's fine, so that's good to hear. Alright, moving on. Where were we? Right, I moved Ava in 23-4 down, 23-4 down, just because it feels a little more appropriate to have Bloodstained a little higher, Flurry, yeah. Yeah, I feel that's closer to accurate on there. Nothing against them, it just, those feel, if I'm honest with myself, those feel a little higher on my must-read list. Anyway, oh, Flowers for the Arsonist. But yeah, alright, Facing the Sun. A fantastic drama, and truly a far more romantic than sexualized comic, especially considering the characters taking place. Flowers for the Arsonist. This is an interesting one to try and talk about. The life of a girl with a strange mark on her arm. This is one of the most bare-bones, simple, romance stories, but at the same breath is so unique and situational, where this girl is basically exiled, and she's an outgoing extrovert, and, well, she falls for this introverted girl, and it's their adventures of trying to find comfort in each other. I don't want to... There's a complete lack of world building. This is done, obviously, for effect, where you don't really completely understand the world they're in. But there's still so much that is so human in them that it makes up for that. I very much appreciate that this is... There is plenty to see here. There's plenty that could have been done. But I get the feeling the artist just... Because I believe it's technically complete. Yeah, no, hiatus. Okay, yeah. It just lost the author's interest, and they lost interest in that world. It's where they began doing a different one, which we'll talk about later. But it's just one of those... I could see where there was a lot they could do, but this is not for everyone. There's a little abstract of will they, won't they, and that kind of leaves it mixed, I'll put it that way. Now, to prove that... Now, we're not out of the boys love and girl love, but we finally get a straight one. For my derelict favorite. What happens after the story ends with a happily ever after? When Hestia enters her favorite novel as a side character, she happily fangirls from the sidelines, thinking she'll return home when the story reaches its end. Hestia finds the only thing awaiting her is a tragic death of her favorite character. Now miraculously restored to the day of the ending, Hestia decides that she'll no longer spectate from the sidelines. Instead, she'll save her derelict favorite. So yeah, she's trapped in a novel that essentially she was a no-name side character, and the main female lead chose one of the two men that were pursuing her. Of course, her favorite character was the one that wasn't chosen, and spirals into depression and alcoholism and everything that happens when you've dedicated your life to someone, only for your hand to be basically slapped away. She doesn't want that for him, so she has been privileged to go back and start again to try and figure out the best way to help him. And she's going to, and it is a hilarious romp of, her pettiness at times is absolutely a sight to behold. This is a fun one, and yes, it's not just that I wanted to put it up here and worth it, because I also want to point out, no, I'm not Just because I really enjoy the gay and lesbian couples doesn't mean the straight couple can't have some really good chemistry for me. And I adore the way these two characters work together, her and the main lead. How oblivious he can be while still being super sharp about other things. It's really fun. Oh boy. Forest of Humans is up next. This is a thriller by Junho Wong. A secret experiment on serial killers conducted in the woods? What could possibly go wrong? Follow one young researcher's descent into madness and self-doubt as she attempts to escape a locked facility with 10 bloodthirsty murderers. Will she make it out with her humanity intact? This is an amazing thriller that sits as a testament that art style is not everything. The writing and the tension you feel in moment to moments is absolutely amazing. This is on a high worth it. The downside is it is extremely short. So, if you're looking for something to read for a long time, this isn't it. But it's still really good. So I'm at least throwing it in worth it. It is completed, so it is not like you have to wait long. But it is one of those... Yeah, it's not a very long ride, but it is a very intense one. One I absolutely suggest for just about anyone. Okay. It's four-leaf clover, I believe is the official. Four-leaf, yeah. Then from there to something a little... This is one of those, it's hard to classify a... Officially, it's just left as fantasy. It's technically a sort of isekai. Pulled into a magical world by her enigmatic best friend, Lupe finds herself in the middle of an ongoing battle between witches who seek the remains of the wolf and hunters who are after the witches. There's not much Lupe can do to escape her fate. Only the Lady of Wishes can send her home, if the legend is true. This is such of an interesting exploration of the dynamic of a fantasy world writ with modern sensibilities. There is so much of the modern world and the development of what characters want. The problem is, I can tell that the author had various ideas floating through their head, and at points, there are threads that seem to kind of either drift to nothing or come out of nowhere at the same time. It's a product of not having a complete vision from the start to finish, which is not a necessarily bad thing, but it is. I have to deduct points on it when I. So unfortunately, I'm going to leave it at decent. It's a decent ride. It is a lot of fun. There are high points, and there are points that are very clear, unique, and very special. But there are points where I can feel like things kind of got away from what they originally wanted, and things just kind of moved on. All right. From there, we have Frey. A unique action one. In a world filled with demons, only knights blessed with miracles can fight against their tyranny. During a moment of desperation, Magpie was given a miracle, the one and only flame that can kill demons. But that very flame turns on its own owner into a demon that thirsts for ashes. Put in the fire word if you don't want to turn into a handful of ashes. A unique, interesting interpretation where demons can only be killed, but they can still be defeated. And the various empowered knights and beings that would fight against them. Overall, a very good action, and an action comic. It is completed, so you can read it from beginning to end. even if the ending, truthfully, does feel a little rushed. I still give it its worth it ride. I'd say, I'd say for the action ride, it's definitely not a must read to me. The hard part is just, I'm gonna give it to there. It's on the lower end of worth it at the moment, but excuse me. Oof. Sorry about that. But it's still really good. Oh no. Oh boy. I went on a tirade last time we had one of these. Freaking romance. I talked about how much I love you, Snail Lords, and I've talked about how much I hate you, Snail Lords. So all I can say is, I fucking love to hate you. This entire comic is just one big middle finger to every romance out there. I fucking hate you for how painful some of the weeks to wait between episodes was. It's a goddamn must read, and I hate you for that so much. No, let's be honest. It's one of the upward. It's right up there with frigging Death Rescheduled. I hate you because it's so good. It's one of those things where you sit there and you go, I hate that you're this good at doing this to me. It's a toxic relationship that shouldn't be, but it's there and I can't do anything about it. Anyway, moving on. Don't let the BL title in the corners distract you. Ghost Eyes is one of those comics that is just... This is a psychological goddamn... Like, if somebody told me this was a entire trap, I would believe you. Tobias Shinen is a boy of 15 who's been homeschooled his whole life until now. Raised in a church in the woods with his many siblings, mother, and religious father, he is wrought with paranoia of being in public with peers by himself. His only comforts are the voices in his head and the blade in his hands. Until he meets an odd boy who shows him just how fun being free can be, and life falls into place, Toby feels he can't escape. Even if he wanted to. This is not for kids. There are sensitive topics ranging from self-identifying to suicide to depression to otherworldly issues. This comic is a goddamn psyop, and I am here for every minute of it. Like, this is how you do fantastic existential horror. This is how you do, the awkwardness of teen romance. This is how you tell people that that the kids are not all right. So, it's an ongoing comic that is a riot and one I never miss whenever possible. Sorry about that, had to sneeze. Alright, so from there we're into Ghost Teller. Another horror one, but a little different. It is completed, but it's ghosts telling ghost stories about people. And it can be about the horrors that humans create upon each other. I absolutely think this is a worth it comic. But just be aware, it is horror, so there are some darker themes and darker tones to it. That being said, it is a fun ride. The art style actually is really good. And I will stand by. It's a fun enjoy if you're willing to go into darker themes and darker horror, it is a fun ride. So, from there, we have oh god, what's the actual title? Ghost Theater. That's right. This is another one that is done. The shock of a tragic accident leaves talented actress Rahe Koo unable to make facial expressions. Her acting career seems hopeless until she discovers the mysterious Ghost Theater. They're not kidding. It's a failure. It's a sort of emotional to mental disconnect between her body and mind, and she largely remains unable to express emotions. And it's her journey of recovery through a very specific event and place, the Ghost Theater, that's, well, you know what? I'm not even going to spoil the twist of what the Ghost Theater actually is, but it is a interesting, unique one. Unique one to indulge in. So, it's a fun little ride. I'm going to give it, it's worth it. It's going to be on the lower end next to like Frey, but it is still a excellent story. And continuing our ghost theme, Ghost Among the Wildflowers. Yet another completed comic, and a very unique, vibrant art style about that ranges from tense to the most chill fucking lo-fi vibes you could ever exist in. And is a chill adventure through the world that is, I don't even know how to describe properly. These are the people you want to hang with and just, let shit happen around you. You know what I mean? Like if you want to just be a fly on the wall as these guys just go at their lives. So, overall, I think it's absolutely worth it and up there. Just, if you need something to feel good that day, Ghost in the Wildflowers is a pick-me-up of an immense capacity. Girls of the Wilds. Another completed comic, actually. Wilds High School, an all-girls educational institute specializing in MMA, as in, mixed martial arts fighting styles, has a very special freshman enrolling this year, Jaegu, who fears women from being abandoned by his mother, is about to find out what girls are really all about in this action-packed school drama. So first off, look at the top, look at the banner at the top. If you're here for women that can kick your ass, you have found your heaven. You have arrived. This is absolutely a comic that would absolutely be. The art style is solid overall. Like, sometimes the backgrounds can be kind of weak. The expressions can vary and be a lot of fun, and the characters, and no, the cat ears, don't ignore the cat ears, they just are. Have a lot of fun. The energy is there. It's bouncy. Overall, I will say I give it a fantastic suggestion. I won't say it's I'll say it's on the bottom of must-read. If you're interested in a good action with some good character development, this is fantastic. Okay, and then from there, it's Golden Rubies. Oh. Okay. Another isekai, so unfortunately this is someone being reincarnated. In her previous life, she was a nobody. This world was just a game. Born into poverty in this life, Lyra seems destined to be a nobody yet again. But knowledge of a future war that would decimate her village motivates her to join the plot as she decoration for the Demon King. Can a faceless extra, whose only strong point is her face, really change fate by being arm candy? Although, the Demon King doesn't quite seem... Yeah, he seems kind of a little too chill and a lot of fun. This is a horny... Okay, let me be point blank. This is horny. This is absolutely 100% relentlessly horny in multiple words of the phrases. I say that because, yes, the Demon King in picture has horns. Ha! Gotcha. Okay, joke aside, just look at the goddamn man. Just look at them and look at her and... Yeah, they're fucking beautiful. There's no way around it. This is a lovely, wonderful, passionate series. Fucking love it. It is a must-read for me. You guys can do what you want. This is I'm looking forward to every new episode. And we have got so many more to go. The world is unique and interesting. And worst case scenario, it's a riot. Okay. Gosu. Oh boy. This is completed. So this is yet another action series that is completed. And when I say action, I mean action. When his master dies, Ganyang pledges to avenge his teacher at all costs. After training his martial arts skills in seclusion, Ganyang sets off to hunt down the traitors and make them pay. But when he gets to town, he discovers they're already dead. Well, what's he supposed to do now? This is possibly one of the greatest comedy / action series out there. This is a wild ride from beginning to end, and it is a fun one to read. I absolutely put it at least middling on my high must-read. If you are a fan of action, of kung fu styles, and people, defying all physics, this is a ride and a lot of fun. So, yeah. From there, we're into one of the comfy series. Officially called... Let's see. Guide to the Land of Monsters. I recognize the symbol, I just couldn't remember the exact quote of the name. The Guide to the Land of Monsters is a... Ketwit is the land of monsters. This makes it the perfect place for Nana Surskek, the adventurous daughter of a pair of wildlife biologists. On the back of her four-legged friend Coda, Nana explores the strange subarctic island she calls home, which may be even more bizarre than anyone first thought. It's a lot of fun. It's, they update when they can, so, life is life. But I enjoy it, and it's a fun, interesting take on a land of monsters where we would normally just follow a bunch of adventurers butchering their way through. Instead, our main character is truly trying to study and understand them, learn their, the biology and why they do things and how things can work. It's a lot of fun. It's a unique take and one I think that is absolutely worth it. It's up there anyway. Yeah. Put it next to Bugtopia for the good vibes category, too. Okay. Hades and Persephone. Because they switched the title. Yeah. Hades and Persephone and Other Gods' Ficklets. This series includes fan fiction, short stories about the famous couple in Greek mythology, Hades and Persephone, and a couple others such as Ares and Aphrodite, Zeus and Hera, Eros, Psyche, etc. Enjoy. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a fun riot of a ride. This is taking God mythology and making it a bit more soap opera-y. And that's an accomplishment, really. If you can make the Greek gods, come out as more of a soap opera, you're doing something right. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a must-read. It's just feel good. I'm always into a good use of mythology, and this is a good retelling that recharacterizes and reorganizes some of the myths into a simple, more coherent narrative. So, and, well, speaking of, Hades, I'm the End. Now if Hades and Persephone is that's a soap opera, this is trying to be a Lord of the Rings style telling of, the high drama. The I can't be with you, but I'm going to steal you away, and I'm going to defy the gods for you. This is that kind of high, hand-handed drama. It is not for everyone, but it is worth it in my opinion. I won't give it the highest rank, but I will say it is a lot of fun. The art style is fantastic and unique. It makes it stand out. But but the writing tends to be a little on the weaker side, but that may just be because overall it's not as long as Hades and Persephone. So we'll see. That being said, the character designs are fantastic and beautiful. Every character looks fantastic. And I don't mean attractive, I mean they're well designed and able to stand out or blend in with someone. Hell, the twins Thanatos and Hypnos, who are the gods of sleep and death, are Hypnos is pink-haired with hair. Thanatos has blue hair, but they both still have body markings that identify them as twins, and I cannot overstate enough. Don't let the ranking mislead you. This is purely based on my personal, where I feel it needs to go. Basically, if I've got a half hour to read everything, unfortunately, this one I'll wait a little bit more, and then come back later where there are more episodes. That's the way to think of it. Anyway, from there we have Hand Jumper. Alright. This is an interesting universe. Seon Lee despises aberrants. They wreak havoc on society with their strange, unthinkable powers. It's just too bad she happens to be an aberrant herself. Forced to fend for her life in the deadly aberrant core, she's determined to make it to the top, and her unusual ability should help her do it, if she can figure out how to use it in time. A sort of coming-of-age story mixed with a revenge tale. And it's a very unique power system that works in many ways. And the character, the main character is, Seon Lee is very much the intelligent and mental process kind of, think it over rather than power through. That being said, she knows how to use her. She's learning how. Just because you have a power does not make you anywhere near invincible, and there are people who can instantly end her, and that makes it a fun power system, in my opinion. So, I really do appreciate it. Hand Jumper will definitely sit up there as a worth it. About most of the way up, yeah. Alright, next up is, what's it officially called? Heart Worker. Amelia, 32, gets along really well with her best friend's little sister Emma, 26. A few snippets of the life of the pair of roommates slash friends with benefits. It's it's the drama of two women starting to build a relationship with each other. It's decent. It's relatively short at this point, so maybe as the plot grows larger, but for now, it's only going to be a decent read, but it has space to grow and really build up. We've only had one major fallout or major plot turn, so it can definitely pull itself up, but it'll take some time. Next up, a unique piece. I'm definitely going to throw them worth it, and actually fairly high up. Hell, Hel, is a unique exploration of, well, exactly what it... Let's see, yeah. Hell, the abyssal pit from which springs forth an endless horde of demons and corruption. Standing against this tide is the last bastion of civilization, Asgard, glorious in its war to keep the threat contained. From this bright city a light is cast into the abyss, and from her fall will rise another to end to their world. From here our story begins as we follow Nine carving a path through the world's hostility to everything she is and believes in. It's a very unique, interesting world that this is 90% world building. And it's interesting to see basically the equivalent of an angel falls from heaven and her journey to return. At least that's for the start of it. We're now in a second story arc, and that covers a completely different perspective and different events. Overall, an interesting world building that absolutely feels like a interesting journey you just want to know more about. Alright. Oh boy. From there we have... Oh boy. I want her to step on me, the comic. Hero Killer. The world is in constant turmoil, with constant wars breaking out between heroes and villains. Gifted with supernatural abilities, one lone girl sets out on a bloody path for revenge against the injustices of the world she lives in. With the constant clashes between titans, no one is safe. If no one is willing to protect the innocent, who are the real heroes and who are the real villains? What truly separates one from the other? In this particular world, there's not much of a line. But that being said, our main character is not a hero. She is the hero killer. She is after revenge, and she will do whatever it takes, even working with other villains. Overall, I love this story. This is so much fun. The main character has a unique ability that works in making her and shows how she can grow and change. We have enough of an episode that this is actually one I am truly invested in personally, so I can absolutely suggest to you all, this is a fun ride. So, I'm going to definitely put it up on must-reads and fairly high up. Because Hero Killer is a fun one. That being said, it is also an amazing ride on good shonen action. Just fist flying, weapons clashing, just a lot of fun. High class homos. The fact this hasn't The fact this comic has yet to change its name ever still stands as one of my favorite testaments to just being boldly loud with what you want to be. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a comic that knows exactly the story it's telling. Princess Safia of the Mytilene is not into princes, so when her parents start putting the heat on her to get hitched, she enlists the help of her equally gay best friend, Prince August of Phthia. But will these two royals be able to pull off a convincing sham marriage? More importantly, will Safia ever land a date with the castle mates? Follow these high-class homos as they navigate life, love, and occasionally their actual jobs. It's a lot of fun. It is a riot. This is a must-read for me. Not the highest priority, but it is still up there where it feels fun. And it is a riot to have them be, see how they pull off these and the character interactions. Just a lot of fun. This one also has an amazing name, this comic. Hooked on Chthonics. I love that name so much. It's such a horrible pun. Yeah, Hooked on Chthonics. Basically, Chthonics are the deities of the underworld, for by and large, for just a general term. And this is a light, bouncy... When novice witch goddess Circe goes to study under the goddess of witchcraft in the underworld, she finds herself at the center of mythology's greatest chthonic tales. The slice of afterlife updates the 10th to 25th of every month. It is a fun, riotous little... It's popcorn, basically. It is a popcorn mythology where if Hades I'm the End is high drama, and Hades and Persephone is soap operas, this is your slice of life, like cheesy comic that I guess would be your Saturday morning cartoon, where everything is ham-fisted but still lighthearted, and there's very little true maliciousness behind it. I find it a must-read, not my highest priority, but definitely one I absolutely adore. Oh, but from that, we end up with one of the legends. Hooky. Danny and Dorian have missed the bus of the school to their school of magic. Now they must find someone who will teach them how to be great and good witches. Or maybe not. So, two kids miss the bus to their school and proceed to bumble their way through what may be an amazing adventure that sticks in the back of my head as one of the most well done, with the unique art style that stands out. I absolutely recommend this to anyone. It is lighthearted, fun. It's like a Disney movie with a little more edge. It is fun, and there is actual consequences to people's actions. Overall, very fun, It's been years, and I can still see certain sequences and scenes and certain plot points in the back of my head. Overall, really well done. And, yeah, there's nothing more I need to say. Absolutely suggest it. Then from there, Hooves of Death. Oh boy, now we get into some... This is going... Hooves of Death. Post-apocalyptic My Little Pony. With a very simple art style. It's the end of the world, and humanity is on its last legs against the zombie horde. Now, all that stands between mankind and total extinction are Commander Sprinkles, Blaze, Sergeant Glitter, and a handful of other fierce warriors. Mythical creatures with supernatural powers and incredible determination, they have sworn to protect the human race. Yes, they're unicorns, but they are also our last hope. And this is one of those empathy and humanity stand tall. And learning and growing, and overall, this is a fantastic apocalypse story. One that, honestly, I felt nothing but joy while reading. It is completed, so you don't have to wait for the ending. I would put it up there. Yeah. Yeah, I would put it up there that high. It was a riot, it was a fun time, and the characters and development across the entire series was really well done. I personally loved it. Sam Bragg did an amazing job. Yeah. They don't have time to do everything but as they did, but that was still an amazing project and one I very much appreciate. Anyway, next up. Oh boy. How to be a Mind Reaver. Alright. The unique art style. Let's start with that. The very over-exaggerated eyes with the very small pupils. The very, centered look and expressions. Make no mistake, Cthulhu lives in a dungeon alone near a dark forest, known as a Mind Reaver. He is full of knowledge, adept at mind control, and has many strong tentacles. He is very annoyed that humans are always breaking into his dungeon. One day, Cthulhu meets a little girl, Luna, who seems to be abandoned in the dungeon, and that's where the story begins. It is Luna looking up and learning from Cthulhu. So yes, this is a Mind Reaver who took in a little girl and everything that led beyond it. The story, the characters, this is one of those, this just feels good to read. Absolutely a must-read for anyone who wants something just to feel good for the day and feel like there is not much. Like, if you feel there is no good in this world, read How to Be a Mind Reaver. Because there is a lot of good in this world. And it can come from surprising places. Okay. Next up, How to Be a Dragon. How to Become a Dragon. This just recently filled up. This just recently finished off, like the epilogue came up the 19th of this month. Should you do when a 1,000-year-old Imugi named Bari suddenly appears in your apartment and demands you to pay for the sins of your ancestors? Help him become a dragon, of course. Young Yu's life is on the line as he teaches Bari the ins and outs of getting along with humans in order to prepare the Nocton River Dragon exam. Will Young be able to help Bari pass his exam and become a full-fledged dragon? Bari, the dynamic of the world-weary and knowledgeable main character and the naive, well-intentioned, mystical creature is a lot of fun. There are all sorts of little comic pieces. The art style is very simple, but enables a great range of expressions and emotions to convey different situations. There's very tense and subtle moments. Overall, it's a lot of fun. So, definitely, I won't on the top of worth it. I won't say it's a must-read, because it's a bit okay, it's a little too. I'm gonna pull it back just a bit, just because it is still too steeped in Korean mythology. And so, for an outsider's perspective, it may be a little hard to follow. That being said, it's a lot of fun regardless, and the characters are really dynamic. So, and the interpretations and the dynamic between them, absolutely fantastic. Well, we're getting there, folks. We're getting there. Okay. This is... There it is. I want to be a cute anime girl. Karen's sisters dressed him up as a girl, and he liked it. This is her story, learning about who she is, and slowly realizing and becoming her true self, along with her friends and family. The artist is currently on hiatus, so there's a little deduction of points for that, but I gotta give it to him. Their art style evolves and continues to evolve as they go. And you can tell this is a passion project. This is something that honestly makes them happy, and to express their ideas and sense of how they identify themselves. As someone who actually does identify as gender fluid, I can very much appreciate this. And yeah, I would love to be anime levels of cute, but I was born with the body I was born with. So I keep using my VTuber and just pretend like that's me all the time. It'd be nice, but I'll put it as a must-read, but just because that's personal bias. Next up, Protected by the Final Boss. Oh boy. Rated 18, girls love Webtoon. Callista had an accident and was transported to an RPG game. Here she became the master of Shani, the final boss of the game. Shani adores and respects her master more than anyone else in this world. If she finds out a soul from nowhere is taking over her master's body, will she get mad and find all kinds of ways to kick Callista's soul out of her body? To survive, Callista must try her best to pretend to be Shani's master. It's a horny... it's very clearly written as a I love watching two women together kind of comic, so... Honestly, it goes on the bottom of not for everyone, but I can very much see it. It's a very sweet kind of thing, but it is, it's, again, remember that this ranking is by and large. When I have 30 minutes on my lunch break, which comic am I pulling up first to read, basically? And with that in mind... Oh boy. I'm the Grim Reaper. Yep. Graveweaver, the artist behind it, has created a unique, interesting, and very, very fun world. On Earth, there are bad people. There are really bad people. If you're one of the latter, on Earth there are bad people, and then there are really bad people. If you're one of the latter, you don't just get sent to hell. You get sent to hell and get assigned a job collecting the souls of some of the worst people on Earth. Such is the career path of a young woman named Scarlet, who dies and is delivered down to the fiery underworld, only to find herself in an entry-level position as the Grim Reaper. There are all sorts... This is almost on par with Snail Lord's plot twists. I say because there are the amount of plot twists is similar, but the Graveweaver doesn't twist the knife as hard as Snail Lord's does with when the plot twists happen and how frequently they are. And because of that, you get a higher position because, damn it, because you don't hurt me as much. You don't hurt me as much, but you still give me plenty of reason to want to keep going. Snail Lords is just a vindictive bastard who twists that knife as much and as hard as possible, so every episode is like, I need to know so I can feel better and let this go. And then something else happens and I'm just, God damn it. I'm the queen in this life. This is an interesting one. The Etruscan kingdom is stained with blood when the king's illegitimate son, Caesar, conspires with his fiancée, Ariadne, to usurp the throne from his half-brother Alfonso. Despite Ariadne's devotion to the new king, her faith is shattered when she is betrayed by him and eventually murdered by her own sister, who wishes to be queen. To her surprise, Ariadne finds herself sent back in time to her 17-year-old self. As she navigates the perils and opportunities of palace intrigue, Ariadne must make sure the most of her guile and grit to ensure that her tragic future does not repeat itself. This Sorry about that. Had to sneeze. This is a fantasy thriller that absolutely sits at the precipice of what a good story can be, to me. There is political intrigue, well thought out characters, character motivations, choices, everything about this, and the pettiness and selfishness of the family is fantastic and fits so well. I can never suggest this enough to people. Like I said, if this is how I'm ranking it, is mostly what comics I read when I get the opportunity. I'm the Queen is one of the top ones where the second I see that it is updated and I have some free time and I'm not doing something, sure enough, I will pull up this story. It is fantastic. The art style works great with with all sorts of emotions. And the characters are well thought out. They don't act impulsively. They know they have to act in a certain way. And I love this art right here in the corner of her having both men blindfolded under her control. Ariadne is a fun, vibrant character who shows her wit and mettle at all times. She's far from the perfect, well, I know this is going to happen, so I'll just do this. No. She's taking advantage of things as they come up. She knows a relative thing, and there are times where her plans backfire. In one of the more recent plot arcs, it has backfired painfully. So much so, I just my stomach twist, and I felt for her, and I almost cried. So, just for reading it, I almost cried. So I had to say, yeah. Absolutely. This is one of those top ones. Next up is going from something serious to something a little more lighthearted. Immortal and a Half. How to put it? Immortality isn't as boring when you've got someone to share it with. Essentially, a lighthearted comic about one immortal and a half immortal woman who work at an industry that's supposed to keep the peace and keep things quiet between the normal world and the supernatural. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of dynamic between it. It's not necessarily romantic. It is a close friendship. So, absolutely worth it. I'd put it around there. No, a little under Hell, because I will read Hell first. I'll put it that way. Hmm. Now this one's kind of interesting because people are gonna look at it and go, "Well, that's kind of a low ranking." In Love with a Reaper sits kind of low, but here's the thing. In Love with a Reaper is one of those. It's a comic that I think moves a little too slow for its own good. But at the same time, it's one of those. Yeah. The art style is fantastic. But the pacing and the story world building could be done a little clearer. Nightly murders aren't really Ilya's style, but it's the only way she can meet with her beloved Reaper, who, for some reason, wants nothing to do with her. And it's a. I will always support a psychopathic lover. Like, the idea of having someone who would be willing to kill for me, I love. I'm sorry, I'm gonna sound creepy. The idea of being stalked doesn't bother me in the slightest. I don't really do much anyway. But the idea of having someone who goes full yandere for me, I find incredibly flattering. And that maybe that's just because it's never happened to me, and I don't ever expect it to. But it is one of those things. Still, don't let the low ranking betray it. I only do it because I understand that it is toxic in every sense of the way. But I still can't help but want to pair it. So, I give it my support, but that's where I've... Inga and Hex. Oh boy. Maybe just Inga? Yeah, Inga Hex. Okay. Inga tries to conquer the girl of her dreams while also trying to keep the forest where she lives from falling apart. This is by Rain Ghostheart, the same artist of... Oh no, okay. I thought, It's an interesting girls' love unique comic. It's going to go fairly low just because it hasn't been updated since 2022 and we're in 2024, so unfortunately it's not one. It's probably in a lost and abandoned project, but all I can say is I would love to see more of it. It's a unique art style that's very pastel and very vibrant, but hasn't been updated, probably abandoned, so twisted a knife there. A step above is called Internet Explorer. You know, the thing you only ever use once to download something else? Oh. Not. It's another Merriweather comic, so... Internet Explorer is a web browser who isn't popular as she used to be. Yeah. It's a story about web browsers turned into anime girls and effectively interpreting the way the internet goes based on that. It's been going for a while and it's simple, but I can't say it's bad by any stretch. It's just one of those. It's kind of a cute gimmick, I guess is the best way to put it. Then... let's make sure. Let's do a quick time check on YouTube for the state of play. Make sure haven't missed it. State of play. Alright. Yep, 50 minutes. So, we'll keep going with the ranking. And yeah, hide chat. Blow that up. Okay. So got that going. So when we get closer to the next like 10-15 minute mark, we'll probably switch. I'll cut this stream and then start over to get going with that. So next up, Isabella. And if you're wondering why I had to show it, simply put, yeah. I guess the best way to put it, I had to show it because I only have one monitor. Sorry, folks, I'm poor. So, unfortunately, you have to see everything. Anyway, Isabella, a former Canvas, moved up to... Yeah. Now, this series is rated mature for blood, violence, and sexual content. This stuff is saucy as all get out. Somewhere called Isabella, we lived and existed. A seemingly endless life. Life, does it need to have any meaning, or do we simply exist? This art style is painfully detailed and beautiful. And the world is darkly vibrant. Now, I'm unfortunately going to be leaving it indecent, but that's only because, at this point in time, we aren't that far into the story, and I expect that it will end up somewhere in the upper worth it, but at this point, we're still building the world and still being introduced to bits, so this is a seed I'm planting for now that may one day sprout into one of those fantastic stories that sticks in the back of my mind. Because I'm the sort of person, stories, tales, myths, and legends. These are the things I love and enjoy most. Oh, speaking of, our next comic has the simplest title. It Hurts. Oh, I mean, It Hurts. It Hurts. This is a comic that is divisive and problematic for people because it holds one of the greatest, most painful stories one can send. They say first love is fleeting. That's especially true for Raijin. The love of his life has only a year left to live. This series was started in 2019 and completed recently. It was our first series we ever created, uploading 2 episodes per week until the final episode is posted. Thank you for all your support. Entire series is completed on their Patreon if you want to be impatient. But I'm rereading this as they go, because I read this through the first time. They've turned off all the comments. There were some very divisive and very angry people about this comic. But all I can say is this is a journey to hell with someone holding your hand. This is where you know it's going to be bad. They warn you from the very beginning. It's called It Hurts. But there is something about the purity and the pain that it puts you through that just makes this worth it. This is one of my absolute favorite webtoons, and I am thankful they re-uploaded it. That's how much I like it, folks. I'll let that speak for myself. I read this every instance I get a chance to. So, another one that's going to end up fairly high ranked, but just making sure I have the title right. Just a Goblin. That's it. He's just a goblin. This is one of the best action webtoons. For centuries, adventurers have slaughtered monsters for sport and hunted goblins for their body parts and linens. But why? The question Nog, the goblin inventor, has been trying to answer. After accidentally unlocking an arcane power that allows Nog to level up and grow in strength, he finally discovers confidence to chase the answer to his question. Nog will set out a perilous quest across the world with his best friend Gubble to discover why humans hunt goblins. Can monsters and adventurers live in peace? This is a comic that does not shy away from the fact that it will make, much like it hurts, will hurt you and will make you feel heavy emotions one way or the other. These characters are well designed visually to stand out and emotionally to make you feel for them. They're just... Oh, side note, I never mentioned this, but there also is an effect where if you want to, comic artists can add music to a stage, to a particular chapter, and that can really enhance the effect. I mention this because some of the more recent chapters really hit hard with and were well chosen music. I consider this a high must read. Like, this is fantastic and one I absolutely adore. It's Van Helsing and Juliet, I believe is the name of this one, coming up. And if I'm not talking a lot about a particular comic, it's because I don't want to spoil the plot twists. Or is it... try just... Is it 1L? Maybe that's it. Yeah. Juliet and Van Helsing. Marianne Van Helsing is a timid girl from the legacy of intimidation and hatred of vampires. Juliet Bloodvik is a gorgeous vampire of royal blood with a dangerous sense of curiosity. However, after a crazy misunderstanding, Marianne and Juliet slowly become friends while balancing their family's secret rivalry. This is a story about music, monsters, and worst of all, love. It's a lot of fun, and it's your classic comedy of errors, and overall, just a really fun time. So, it's decent. I won't say I go out of my way for it, but I definitely, whenever I get the chance, will read it. It's a lot of fun. Next up, Justice and Heresy. From the same artist that brought us Flowers for the Arsonist, which was down here, Justice and Heresy plays a little more straight, so to speak, where a monster and a paladin have a rivalry / are in a constant battle where the paladin is trying to kill the monster, but she's too powerful for her, and it's interesting. It's a well done play back and forth between the pair. It's decent. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it's still good. So, yeah. It's simple art style, but fairly effective for what it is. Oh boy. Carcian, Adventures of a Red Dragon. Aaron. Meet Aaron, aka Aaron, the first ever dragon to help run away from home. One day, Aaron uses a polymorph magic to transform himself into a human and embarks on an adventure to the human world. But the human world is treacherous. Join in his adventure as he gets chased by orcs, gets sold away, and even becomes a princess. Yeah, this is on the chaotic neutral scale of I did it for the shits and giggles. I did it for the shit and giggles. Like, this dragon is just... Aaron is basically a young dragon out to fulfill adventures and, grew up on the books and stories of human heroes and decided I want it too. Excuse me. But obviously, being a dragon, it became a whole thing, and it continues to expand out to be a whole thing. And it's kind of sadly hilarious on a comedy of errors. It's a fun ride. I still need to catch up with it, but it is still good. I'll give it, yeah, it's decent. The character writing is... Aaron is not a compelling main character so much as a I just want to see how this train wreck goes kind of thing. Oh gods, I forgot we hit this far. Okay. This one. Night Run. If you could be teleported down to the planet's surface, will you fight against aliens to save the last human beings? Now, here are the heroes, Class S, who fight against aliens with AB swords to protect you. Oh boy. The translation, this is one of those, the translation ain't great. Like, this is obviously one that suffered from early translation attempts. That being said, what still is here is an amazing space drama of humanity against not insurmountable but incredible odds against a coherent alien attack that is looking to wipe out humanity from space, and the undertakings and the sacrifices it takes to survive it. For me, this was a must-read. This is a fantastic fantastic. But I'll put it on the top of not for everyone, because the translation can leave people cold, and I can see where the flaws are. So, it's kind of like if you're stitching a seam and then suddenly you can see the little hole where someone didn't pull it tight enough. I know where the flaws are, but I still enjoyed my ride with it. The characters are fun, the art style is just delicious, and just overall the story can hit pretty hard. So, that's my take on it. Don't let the low rank mistake it. It's just purely I see the flaws. Next up, though, speaking of knights, Ladies of the Night. A fun, unique art style that covers Seraphina is the best knight in the league. Almost. And she's doing just fine, thanks. Too bad the others don't agree and saddle her with an enthusiastic but wholly unsuited squire. With some appearances from glamorous rivals, moody horses, exasperated wives, and one delightful BFF. Yeah, these are ladies' knights who go around from tournament to tournament to sharpen their skills and put on shows of fights. It's a lot of fun. It's very silly. And I think it's worth it. It's not the highest worth it, but it's still worth it, in my opinion. Oh, okay. And then there's the Lady in Red. This is a wonderful thriller with plenty of really invigorating plot twists and fantastic art style. Pretty, alluring, yet dangerous, Patchy is a maid in Winter Keep, a totally normal hotel. Like every other hotel, you can find every kind of guest there. There's Ein, a brother looking for his lost sister, and Jeremiah, a police captain after a notorious serial killer. What will happen when the three of them meet? Will there be an uncovered secrets, or will a dangerous love bloom between them? It's a lot of fun. It's very good, and it may just be because I'm weak to redheads, but I totally love it. So, definitely worth it. Up there high on it. Anyway, Moving on to... oh, lesbian vampires. Lesbian vampires. That's literally it. It's a sort of one-shot... Not one-shot. What am I thinking of? Almost like a Four Coma style comic of... I guess the best example. Slice of life. Slice of life is a good term for it. Daphne and Veronica are a couple of vampires living in human society and taking advantage of it. New episodes every week. Yeah, I guess the best way for this one to explain it is to show you. So, guy's breaking into an apartment to see what he can get. Unfortunately, he broke into their apartment where she's about to feed on him. Of course, he's trying to threaten her. And both her and the guy she's captured are laughing. Well, of course, he's a dead man. After all, he just walked. Congratulations, sir, you are nothing but lunch. Yeah, it's a lighthearted comic that has a lot of fun with its basic premise, but there are some actually pretty good and deep moments. So I leave it, around boy girlfriend. Just a lot of fun, lighthearted, interesting energy behind it. Level 1 Housewife is our next comic. She's level 1 being a housewife. But she's like a max level barbarian. What happens when one of the most powerful adventurers falls in love, decides to get married, and is now supposed to lead a normal life? Follow Angraboda, her beloved hubby, and the countless new and old friends with their everyday struggles to find out. A new life as a housewife starts now from level 1. And there's more to the characters on why and different things, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very self-aware on the type of story it's telling. So for me personally, I find it a must-read. Not the highest need to, but I definitely want to read everything about it. And I mean, there's jokes like, there's a point where he finds out that she was raised by a dragon, and he just kind of looks back at all her lack of basic senses or sense of propriety, and he goes, "Huh, so that explains it." Oh, speaking of, our next one, Leveling Up My Husband to the Max. The title is misleading. This is another one with a misleading title, because if you're expecting anything like an RPG mechanics in this, they don't exist. The series just ended on the 17th of this month. But let's begin. A cold, uncaring husband and an unreasonable mother-in-law and a wrongful death. Could your life get any worse? What if you were given the chance to change things? When Amber is sent 10 years back in time at the moment of her execution, she finds herself face to face with the younger version of her husband. But something's completely different about him. He's completely at her beck and call. Will she be able to prevent the past from repeating itself, or will her life spiral into misery once again? Operation Leveling Up My Husband to the Max begins now. When they're talking about is the affection between her and him, is leveling up that to the max, not an actual RPG mechanics or anything. This comic recently completed, so you will be able to read it from beginning to end, which is a nice bonus. And it is a fantastic slow burn romance, and a lot of well done story and plot, so not the highest, but definitely one of those solid, I definitely enjoyed myself. Definitely worth it, in my opinion. Now, I say that, and now I'm going to look a bit like a hypocrite because our next one, the next title, Like Wind on a Dry Branch. A plague and turmoil afflicts the empire. Enchanting widow Rieta Tristi finds herself at the mercy of a malicious nobleman and his dying wish to have her buried alive beside his corpse. The plague has taken her husband, slave traders have taken her young child, and now her own life is at risk. Until an unexpected visit from the empire's outcast prince changes everything. This is a slow burn romance. You will be frustrated sometimes at the pace that these two will take, but it also goes in depth on why they're so slow, is because they have both been hurt and traumatized, and it is a fantastic story that absolutely the art becomes amazing to express. This is a must-read, and a fairly high one, too. This is one I go out of my way to keep up with every week, because this is two characters who are in love and are absolutely are going through more than the motions, but the emotions behind it. Trying to make sure they're ready to be fully committed to the other. They're not worried about the other person being uncommitted, they're worried about themselves. And it is a fantastic adventure. And there are all sorts of great fantasy elements to it. Overall, love it. One I can wholeheartedly suggest. And the official title of the next one, Lily Crown. An interesting, unique, nothing for nothing, I guess you would call it a survival game. The art style is interesting. The semi-cat face. Escaping a political marriage and her glowing crown were just the start of Lil Nay's journey. Becoming the Queen of Shootend, meeting her two knights, and braving hostile kingdoms to get back home. That's where things get interesting. Yeah. Basically, it's a story of... It's a bit of a... She's been displaced from her land, and now she has to cross the entire kingdom amid a survival game of rulers with superpowers basically fighting for complete control over the continent. It is an amazing, well-done story with some very dynamic characters and amazing expressions. Overall, I give it it's a definite solid recommendation. Definitely on the top of worth it. Maybe a little further back, but still really good. Alright. Little Matcha Girl. This one I have conflicting feelings about. I've kind of fallen out of it, but I still can see the quality of it. The art style is fantastic. First and foremost, let me say that. The artist knows exactly what they're doing with making the expressions and the art work. Anytime there is a flat character that seems kind of simple, it's to express how simplistic the character is being of, this is it, here, that's all that is. But they can have very dynamic character expressions, and I'll read the description to give you an idea. Hey CRT, how's it going? Poor Matilda, all she wants out of life is to be a RuneTuber star, eventually YouTuber equivalent, sharing her escapades with fellow adventurers from around the world. But when you're the granddaughter of a killer mafia boss and necromancy is a family tradition, your life plans have a tendency to go awry, as they are wont to do. So, yeah. It's effectively the story of a young girl with many secrets to hold, but wants to be famous and figure out her own way in life. Interesting, unique. Fell a bit out of it myself, so I'm going to leave it at decent, but I can still see the appeal, if that makes sense. Alright. Next up, Loki. Adventures in Father? Yeah, Loki the Father. Alright. First off, this is one of those, the art style is absolutely a riot. It is just, they're being silly. They take what is over the top and just kind of run with it. Comics about the difficult fate of a parent who just yesterday was a careless rogue god. You can also find me Patreon, yeah. Unfortunately, though, this one gets dinged down a bit because last update back over a year ago. Yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those. It's a dead comic, but I can't help but want to suggest that, I don't know, if anyone ever finds the artist and wants to give them this saying, I love your work and I want to see more. I will always want to. Seems silly, I know, but what can I say? So they'll end up in not for everyone, but they would be indecent, but the no updates, so they end up down here. Sorry, folks. I don't regret my time though with it. Oh boy, and another one. Because Loki is a fun character to play with. Next up we have Loki, Lord of Chaos. How to put this? Loki, Norse god of mischief and chaos, is doomed to wield a power he can never truly control. His forbidden love for Thor's future bride brings out a darkness in him, which may even have the power to consume all of Asgard. There may be more to Loki's story than the old tales reveal. This romantic reimagining of Norse mythology is inspired by the mysterious lines of the famous poem Loch Senra, and explores Loki's love story as it had never been told before. Updates every other Thursday. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a fun, riotous adventure. And this is a romance. This is a pure soap opera romance. If you like soap operas, like being ham-fisted, using the gods as models to do so, it is a fun ride. And Loki, Lord of Chaos, is a fun one to put yourself through. Definitely up there, and always look to see more. They are selflessness and wonderful. And again, I will point out, yes, just because there is so much girl love and boy love on this, yes, I do approve of straight couples too. I enjoy all romance. All romance is a good thing in general. So long, even the toxic kind can be beneficial in some ways. You learn from it. And then we go into, actually some back-to-back really good ones. First up, Lone. Born without magic in a world full of witches, Lone is determined to claw her way to the top of the wizarding school if it kills her. And it just well might. After a deal with the devil improves her magical aptitude and leaves her with a parasitic demon lord stuck to her forehead, Lone's dream is finally within reach. Now she just has to survive long enough to graduate high school and help Lord Belzeroth retake his rightful throne as King of Hell so that he'll finally be out of her hair. See the hair clip? Yeah, that's what they're talking about. That being said, this journey actually grows in scope and space really well. This is one of the more interesting and dynamic character arcs I've seen in the story. I've seen it explored in a webtoon. Lone may start off pretty simple as a well-meaning individual, but she's going to be put through her paces. And we're honestly just now at 171 episodes starting to get into the truly harder edge of what motivates Lone and what she's willing to do for her desires. I have nothing but approval for this webtoon. It is a must-read for me, and I do so most weeks. So, yeah. Lone is a fun riot of a ride. Alright. Let's see. Next up, Lord of Goblins. An isekai, so there's some... It's an interesting thing because he's called out pretty early on the fact that someone notices he's not who he says he was. Corruption, greed, war. Lev was no stranger to the evils of the world, as he spent his entire life fighting the predatory system that ensnared the world's population and turned them into puppets for the leaders of humanity. But when he is assassinated, he finds himself in a new world, with different yet familiar evils. It's a similar road he must traverse, but this time he can do so with a lifetime experience behind him. An interesting comic with a lot of very poignant world building. So forgive the comic that it will be going into a lot of... It can feel a little forced at times, but still the art is fantastic. It can be cutesy, it can be tense, it can be extremely irrational or irreverent. It's a fun comic with a lot of motivations and conflicts. Definitely one of those, it's worth your time if you enjoy drama. It's still on the early part, so it's not a must-read yet for me, because we're still, again, building world building, and the main character hasn't really started to make any real progress beyond getting a few guys together to bust their skulls. So, there's hope, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, from there we go to... Well, this is just going to sit at the top. I'm not even going to bother lying about trying to play that up. Lore and well-written comics. Lore Olympus sits at one of the precipices of this site. Witness what the gods do after dark. The friendship and the lies, the gossip and the wild parties, and of course, forbidden love. Because it turns out the gods aren't so different from us after all, especially when it comes to their problems. Stylish and immersive, this is one of mythology's greatest stories, the taking of Persephone, as it's never been told before. This is a comic that is time and time again proved itself to be fulfilling, painful, awkward, angry, every emotion that you can feel, and just prove the fallibility of these gods, but use it for, rather than pointing and laughing, building up the characters and making them seem larger than life. This is one of the most popular webtoons, and it is one of the most... I cannot state this enough. This is one of the best I've ever seen. That's a B, ladies and gentlemen. That is 1.3 billion views. Okay? Across 6.5 million of us subscribed. And holds a rating of 9.61. This series handles very sensitive topics, from sexual abuse to, recovery, to pain, to greed. There is so many different topics. I want to just give you that warning, because this is not a fun journey, but it is a wonderful one. And the taking of Persephone is hardly the beginning or end of this story. Anyway, I just had to gush a bit. This stands as one of the pinnacles of my every week I want to read this, and every week I keep enjoying myself. Because the cast is dynamic, it is very open. The art style may look simple when very bright, their owner's specific wants and needs. However, his newest job leaves the Lovebot strangely sentient and asking for his help. Sparks will fly as Zada relearns human connection and helps uncover the truths behind the Lovebot's existence. An interesting sci-fi thriller, and overall just an incredible dramatic story with a lot of fun plot twists and some really interesting characters. And with a unique take and yes, an answer, and in this particular universe, yes, there are aliens. We get that answer pretty decisively, and it is interesting and well done. This is a must-read for me. Not the highest of the high, but still pretty good up there. Anyway. Alright, it's about 4:50, so I'm going to actually cut this stream just so we can do them separately, and then bring us over to the state of play here in a minute. So, first off, I want to thank you all for joining me. I have been the Ephemeral One, and this has been more of me ranking the Webtoons on Webtoons. We're getting there, folks. I don't know what more to say than that. We're crunching through it as best we can. Anyway, folks, thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now, folks. Bye for now. Oop, come on, click.